Hi friends, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Wendy, and today I go over all the books that I have read in May. I actually did so good this month. I got, I think, 13 in total, which is crazy for me. Most of them were thrillers, so I am a little bit thrillered out, but I am ready to go for my Riley Sager meetup in June, and I cannot wait to go see him and to get my book signed and to get his new book. So stay tuned for that. I will be recording my trip there and I cannot wait. So the first book I want to go over today is The Secret Garden. This is how I started my month off, and it was a great start because it was 5 stars. I loved Secret Garden. I have watched the older adaptation movie when I was a kid, but honestly I didn't remember a lot of it. So I did this all on audio, but it was really cute. This isn't my favorite edition of it, but it's just one that I had gotten from Ollie's. So I've considered getting a better edition in the future, but it's a super quick read. I did this for Gwen's Patreon. She had a readathon, the Secret Garden readathon, and then we watched the movie. I did not love the new movie, but this follows a girl who goes to live with her uncle, I think is her uncle. And there's a lot of depictions on and a lot of representation on grief and mental health in this book. So I do think that that part of it was why I thought it was beautiful. I think this is a timeless book that will, speak to people for years to come. And I definitely enjoyed it. If you don't know about The Secret Garden, which I doubt you don't, most people do, you should definitely check it out. It's a great classic. And then next on the list that I read was The Last Time I Lied by Riley Sager. I loved this one. I gave it 5 stars. This is following a girl who has suffered a tragedy at a summer camp when she was younger, and then she comes back to work at the same summer camp and then experiences something very similar, and it is very intense. It is very crazy. I will say that this book is a little more slow going, probably the slowest of all of his, but this story was so great to me. I loved all the summer camp vibes. This would be a great book to read over the summer. This was my 3rd favorite in his books, and so I do highly recommend this. It was enough that I wanted to buy it to keep. So it is a good one, and there are just lots of twists in it that you're not expecting, and I just really enjoyed it. Then the next book that I picked up was Buried in a Good Book, which my friend Leah is borrowing, so I don't have with me, but I will insert a picture. And this one was not my favorite cozy. I am coming to realize that I really prefer food cozies. It wasn't bad, but it just wasn't for me. I gave it 2 stars just because I was bored. I didn't love any of the characters. I found them all to be just a little strange, and that is why it wasn't my favorite. The ending also was super crazy to me, and the person who was responsible for the murders, just that whole thing was weird to me and disappointing, and I was not, I just didn't think that it was a good ending. So that is why I gave it 2 stars, but it is a really beautiful cover, as you can see. And I do love all the covers in the series. They're probably one of my favorite ones. So I was super disappointed I didn't love it, but I am going to try the second one because some people liked the second one better. So I'm going to see if I am one of those people. Then next on the list I read was Survive the Night, which I also do not have with me. I listened to this on audio, and I would say that this is one of my lower ones of Riley Sager. It was 3rd from the bottom. I would rank it 5th place, and it was great. 80% I was really enjoying it, but then the last 20% it really lost me. A lot of it was just a little too far-fetched for me in the ending, and so I don't know. I was not feeling it. I didn't like who was responsible in this one either. And so the ending just really, really disappointed me. And then next I have Blood Heir, which is a fantasy book that I borrowed, so I don't currently have with me. but I gave this one 4.5 stars. It is a YA fantasy, and I really love this one. This is following a princess who has kind of been outcast, and she is also, I mean, they call it something different, but she's a witch basically, and is rescued by this prisoner, and they kind of go along through this adventure together. And there's just a lot of action packed in this book from beginning to end. There was so much action. So if you are wanting a fast-paced fantasy, this is a great one to read. I really, really enjoyed it. I only deducted 0.5 because there was something I really wanted to happen towards the end that just did not. And so that is just, if it had just this little thing, I would have gave it 5 stars, but it didn't. So for those reasons, I deducted a 0.5 star, but it is a great adventure, and I highly recommend it. The next I read was Lock Every Door by Riley Sager. I'm kind of summarizing these really quickly because I have a whole video on Riley Sager. You can go watch for more in-depth reviews on my books for Riley Sager. I will link it below. This is the second book he wrote, I believe, and I loved this one. As you saw in my video, this is the ending, I will say, out of all of his books that my jaw was just on the floor. Like, I never saw this coming. I was so shocked. It was so intense. It was so dark, but it was just great. Like, I don't know how to describe it other than that, but it follows a girl who basically finds an ad for an apartment listing where they will pay you to apartment sit. And so she goes and interviews for this, and the rest from there is just sketch. So I highly recommend picking this one up. Next on that list I read was Live and Let Chai. This cozy has to be my all-time favorite thus far. I'm sure there will be more, but this is the one that I finally loved. I adored this cozy. I rated it 4 stars. It is following Everly Swan, who is opening a tea shop, and then someone gets murdered and her tea was poisoned. And they are all blaming her for this. So it is so crazy, but what I loved the most about it was the characters, all of them. I just loved them all. They were all funny. Her banter and her like sassiness was the #1 reason I love this book. Her conversations with the detective was the absolute funniest scenes in this book. And so it just kept me smiling and laughing, and I really enjoyed it. It's the definition of what you want in a cozy mystery, just makes you happy. And I really will definitely be picking up the rest of the series. I'm pretty sure I'm going to end up binging these over the summer, but I highly recommend them. There is also tea recipes in the back, and so I'm definitely going to be making these. This was actually my friend Leah's copy, and I hijacked it from her and was like, can I please keep this and I will pay you? And she was like, you don't have to. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to buy you a cozy. So I sent her another cozy in exchange for this one because I'm going to be keeping this series. And then next on the list that I read was Final Girls. I also don't have that because I borrowed it from my friend Talia, but this one I gave 3 stars. It was really good. It was actually a really great debut thriller. So I thought for a debut thriller, it was top notch in where that's concerned, but I gave it 3 stars because I actually guessed the ending, which is very surprising for me. That's not something I normally can do in a thriller, and I actually don't try to guess. I just like to enjoy the ride, but I guessed unprompted. Like, I just had a feeling I knew who it was, and I was right. And the ending was just what disappointed me. Also, it's really, really gory. Then next after that, I read Home Before Dark. Again, all of these Riley Sagers are on a vlog I just posted, and I did not rate this one. It was containing a lot of paranormal things in there that I just do not like to read about. I did really enjoy it for probably 50% of the book. It is a really good book. For those who like paranormal, you would probably absolutely love this, but that is not me. And I just decided not to rate it because I really couldn't land on a rating for it. It was just too hard for me to decide. So for those reasons, I did not rate it, but it is very spooky. It follows two different perspectives of her dad's horror book that he writes about living there and her perspective in the present time going back to that house, trying to figure out if what her dad wrote is true. And so it is a really good storyline. It has a lot of great aspects to it, but it's just not my type of book. And so then after that, I read Mr. Wrong Number. I read this on my Kindle. At first, I was really enjoying this because there were some great banter, but I ended up not liking this at all because there was a lot of spice, more than I thought there would be. Mostly what I was cringing about was that there was a lot of spice through texting, and that was just like not necessary to me. I felt like it was way too much. Also, there was a lot of language in this for a rom-com I thought was kind of ridiculous. And then the ending really disappointed me because she was just getting on my nerves. So this follows a girl who accidentally texts someone who ends up being her brother's best friend. And they're like texting back and forth and just getting to know each other and having great banter, end up falling for each other. And so it basically follows from there. It is cute premise, but it just was not it. About halfway through, I was really like, okay, I don't like this. So I gave it 2 stars. And then after that, I read Bad Blood. This is the last book in the Natural series. I was really loving this until about halfway. I felt like it was getting a little messy. There was a ton of characters that it was following, and it kind of got confusing for a minute. And so it is probably one of my least favorites in the series, sadly. I did love the ending. I did bawl my eyes out. The ending was really great and dark. It is a really dark book, probably her darkest in the series. So I gave this one a 3.5 stars. I think all the others, the first one and the third one, I rated 4 stars, and the second one, I rated 5 stars. So overall, this is a 4-star series for me. It is a really great series, and I do highly recommend, but the last one was just disappointing for me and really dark. And so then right after that, I read let me see if I can find a picture in the back so I can show you, because I think there is one. Let me see. We'll see if that will focus or not. If not, I'll just put up a picture anyways. But 12 is the novella that's after this. And I did read that because it was in the back of this book, so that was convenient. It was 15 chapters, and I actually liked the novella better than I liked this book. I gave it 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. I like that it wrapped up, like it basically shows you their life 5 years later. So you kind of get that closure in the characters that you were really wanting. And also has a little mystery thrown in it. And so I really enjoyed it. I highly recommend reading the novella at the end. I think that it was just what I loved about the first 3 was in the novella and what I wish had been in here. So it was a great ending to the month. Oh, and then I forgot to mention Help for the Hungry Soul. I actually read that before Bad Blood, and this one was a great devotional. I really loved it. I gave it 4 stars. It just basically encourages you to read your Bible more and helps you to just grow your hunger for the Word, gives you tips on it and some advice that is really applicable. In the back, it has like just different ideas that you can use in the back in the appendix, like reading lists and just different stuff. So I highly recommend this one. I'm going to be keeping this one and definitely rereading. I feel like there is a lot more than meets the eye to this one. At first glance, this seems really generic, but honestly, there's a lot of underlining, just truly impactful truth in here that if you really go into it with like the right mindset, you can get so much out of this book. And I feel like it just came at a time that I really needed it. And so I really, really loved this. I have a ton of like highlights in here, and it was just super good. So that would be the last book that I completed for the month of May. And then I had one DNF this month, and that was Wayward. I was reading this for Liv's Patreon, and I DNF'd it about 130 pages in. It got way too dark for me and just gross. There was mentions of satanic things in here, and that is just something I will not read about. So I would definitely caution you, if you're picking this up, to know that you need to read all the trigger warnings. There is a lot of trigger warnings. Like, I didn't get to this part yet, but I think that there is a lot of SA in this, which I would have probably DNF'd at that point anyways. There's a lot of abuse, there's a lot of violence, but mostly I just do not like the dark satanic stuff. That was where I was like, absolutely not, I will not read this. So I DNF'd that, and I was really disappointed. So that wraps up the month of May for me. Like I said, it was probably one of the better reading months for me. Next month is going to be a little crazy because I'm going to be joining Gwen's Patreon for the Survivor Challenge, which is now closed, but you can still join her Patreon and get in on all the fun future action. I will be vlogging some of it, and I am so excited. So my TBRs are going to be picked basically entirely by the Survivor Challenge, but I did try to make a TBR list of things that were short that I could possibly fit in there. So have fun watching that. And I am so excited to have hit 200 subscribers. So thank you all for joining me and supporting me. It really means a lot to me. I have really just loved getting to know the book community, and I've made so many friends already, and I have absolutely loved it. It has been just a crazy ride, but really fun. I've really just found this creative side of me that I didn't know I had, and I have just enjoyed putting these videos together and editing and just reading more books and having all the fun and getting to know all the people that are really like-minded like me. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this video, and if you made it to the end, I would love for you to put below your favorite book that you read in May, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!
I know it's nothing new, but it's so good to see you.